Hello Pharma College students, here we are with the third and last part of the macro and micronutrient section. Last time we have seen the proteins and also the carbohydrates, and today we will see the last macronutrient, which is fat, and also we'll see the vitamins and minerals and water as well. So when we are back to the last macronutrient, it is fat. So fat, or the other name is lipids. So they are a group of organic compounds that are insoluble in water but are soluble in organic solvents like the alcohol. So when we come to the classification, so fats are classified into many forms depending on the chemical structure and also depending on their function. So depending on their function, we can classify them as structural lipids as the phospholipids, because they are the composition of the cell membrane. Metabolic lipids, as of like lipoproteins and steroids, because they produce hormones. And also the storage lipids as the triglyceride, because it's a storage form of fats. In general, here we are classifying fats into 5, that is fatty acid, triglycerides, phospholipids, lipoproteins, and also steroids. So fatty acids are composed of straight chain of carbon atoms with hydrogen atom attached, and also an acid group attached. That's why we are calling them fatty acids. So fatty acids are further classified into 3 on the degree of saturation, because of the degree of saturation. So the degree of saturation is because of the double bond that exists in between the carbon atoms. So depending on this, we can classify them as 3 saturated fatty acids, monounsaturated fatty acids, and polyunsaturated fatty acids. So the saturated fatty acids have no double bond in between the carbon atom, and the monounsaturated fatty acids, they contain one double bond between carbon atoms, and the polyunsaturated fatty acids have 2 or more double bonds between carbon atoms. So the triglycerides, they consist of a glycerol and 3 fatty acids. So they are mainly used for energy storage. They are form of energy storage, and they comprise 95% of lipids in the food and in the human body. And the other is phospholipid. So phospholipid, it is the structural compound found in cell membranes. They form the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, and also it can be called as the foundation for all living things. And the other is the lipoprotein. So they consist of lipids and proteins, as the name indicates. So there are many enzymes, transport and structural proteins are lipoproteins. So they are important for the transportation of nutrients. And the other one is the sterol. So they are found in cellular membrane, and they are important for the inhibition of osmolysis in cells. Osmolysis happens when cells have much more water in them, and it will result in bursting. So they prevent against osmolysis. And also they are important for the production of steroid hormones. We have 5 steroid hormones. They are the glucocorticoids, the mineral corticoids, the androgen, estrogen, and also progesterone. And also it's important for the production of bile and vitamin B. So the other classification of fatty acid is saturated fatty acid, unsaturated fatty acid, and unsaturated fatty acid. So the saturated fatty acids are fats which are evenly filled out with hydrogen, and they remain solid at room temperature. The source are animal source fat, that's the butter, the dairy products, and also the meat. And these saturated fatty acids increase the level of bad cholesterol, or which we call it the low density lipoprotein. And the unsaturated fatty acids, they involve one or more double bonds, as the monounsaturated fatty acids and the polyunsaturated fatty acids are included here. And they remain liquid at room temperature. The sources are vegetable oils, fish, and so on. So they increase the level of the high density lipoprotein, which is a good cholesterol. So this has a function of taking the cholesterol from the cells back to the liver for processing. Therefore, they will prevent the arteriosclerosis. So the other is transsaturated fatty acid. This fatty acid is usually an industrial processed fatty acid or fats, and they are come up with partial hydrogenation of the unsaturated fatty acid. So from vegetable oil, for example, so the transsaturated fatty acid can be formed. For example, margarine is one example for this. So anyways, we should avoid the transsaturated fatty acid and the saturated fats from our diets. So as you can see here, replacing saturated fats and trans fats with unsaturated fat in the diet can enhance the ability of the nerve cell membrane to pass along necessary message. So we should avoid the saturated and trans fat from our diet. So here is the food source and the function of the saturated fats and the unsaturated fats. So low density lipoprotein clogs arteries because they will bring the cholesterol from the liver to the cell. So it will form clogs in the arteries. Therefore, arteriosclerosis may happen. So we should avoid these things in our diet. So the other thing we should talk with fats is the essential fatty acids. So the essential fatty acids are termed as essential because they cannot be synthesized in our body. So we should have external supplementation of this essential fatty acids. So those are the linoleic and linolenic acids. Since both are the polyunsaturated fatty acids, that means they have two or more double bond between the carbon atoms. So both are mainly found in plant and fish oil. The linolenic is an omega-3 fatty acid and the linoleic is omega-6 fatty acid. So the omega-3 fatty acid is believed to be more important than the omega-6 fatty acid because it increases the high density lipoprotein, that is a good protein, and they reduce the triglycerides, decreasing the blood pressure and reduce the formation of arterial plaques that enhance the formation of arteriosclerosis. So when we move to the function of fats, so they provide the most concentrated energy, that is 9 kilocalorie per gram. They are a good storage of energy, and they are transporting and absorbing. They are important in the transporting and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and also they provide softening for the internal organs because of their chemical composition, and they are structural support for cells as of the phospholipids, and also they are important for the production of thyroid hormones like we have discussed earlier, and also they offer satiety in meals. Therefore they provide the fullness when we eat food, and also they have a good flavor and aroma, so we will be enjoying when we have meals of fats. And they are essential for brain development, and they are protective covering of the nerve cells because they make up of the myelin sheath. So when we come to the digestion and also absorption of fats, so the digestion of fats starts in the intestine. So pancreatic lipids breaks down triglycerides into monoglycerides, and food reaches the small intestine in the form of chyme because of the help of the cholecytokinin, which stimulates further digestion of fats. Actually, fat is water insoluble, but it will be emulsified by the bile, and it will be easier for water solubility, and also it will increase the surface for further digestion. So bile does this. So after digestion, it will be stored in the form of triglyceride. So I think we have to talk about bile. So bile is produced in the liver, and it's secreted by the gallbladder, which increases the lipid solubility that we have said earlier. So it will break it down into droplets, so it will make it easier for the small intestine to absorb easily. So this is all about the digestion and absorption. And when we are back to the recommended daily dietary intake, the fast requirement mainly depends upon the energy need of the individual. But on the average, about 15 to 20% of the total energy should be supplied from fats, and it should be less than 65 grams per day. The dietary fat should be a good source of essential fatty acids, and hence at least 50% of the dietary fat should be from vegetable oil rich in essential fatty acid, in order to avoid the saturated fats, and also in order to be providing the essential fatty acids. So we are back to water. So water it makes up 70 to 75% of the weight of an individual, and the 60% of composition of the human body in general. So they are essential for digestion, nutrient absorption, waste elimination. They are important in circulation, in the controlling of the body temperature, that means in the homeostasis process, and in the cushion. It also cushions joints. It also lubricates. So it will protect from friction or joint inflammation, and also joint problems, because it lubricates or cushions joints. And it also moistens our eyes, our mouth, nose, and it also hydrates our skin, and therefore it will keep us, or it will prevent us from different infections, skin infections, eye infection, and so on. So nearly all of the life-sustaining chemical reactions require an aqueous environment or a watery environment. So water also provides us with this. So we have different sources of water. So we can have a direct food intake, or else we can have them contained in the food we eat, and they are created by the body as a result of oxidation of food components. So one should have a proper amount of water daily, because dehydration will result in different health problems. So chronic dehydration increase the risk and recurrence of different kidney problems, and also mild dehydration can decrease physical strength and also mental abilities, and it may disrupt the mood of individuals. So we have to have a good supply of water. So the recommended water intake is affected by the level of physical exercise, and also climatic factor, age, and gender. So one should be provided with 4% of the body weight in adults. So in number, 2.2 liters per day for adult female is recommended, and 2.8 liters per day for adult male is recommended. So pregnant women should have an extra 30 milliliters of water in the 2.2 liters per day of recommended intake, while breastfeeding women should have an extra 1 liter in her 2.2 liter per day of recommendation. So caffeine drinks, we should avoid them from, or we should minimize taking them, because they are diuretic. It means that they will enhance the formation of urine, or the excretion of water in the form of urine. Therefore, we should minimize those drinks in our daily activities. Beverages other than water, they contain other nutrients, other chemical nutrients. Therefore, they are not advisable food sources. Therefore, we should have a clean intake of water daily as recommended. So the other is vitamins. So they are essential organic nutrients and required in a small amount in our body. They cannot be synthesized by the body and must be obtained from outside source like diet and also sun, and also some bacteria. So we require them for growth, for maintenance, for reproduction, and also lactation. So they act by promoting a specific chemical reaction in a metabolic process, because some of them act as a catalyst. So we have two groups of vitamins. One is a fat-soluble vitamin, and the other is water-soluble vitamin. So the fat-soluble vitamins, they are the vitamin A, D, and K, and also E. So these are insoluble in water and can be stored in the liver and adipose tissue. And these are utilized only if there is enough fat in the body. Therefore, we need fat in order for these vitamins to be utilized. And the other classification, that is the water-soluble vitamins. These are the vitamin C and the B complexes. So they are soluble in water and they cannot be stored in the body. So excess will be excreted through the urine. So here are some vitamins with their function, food source, and their deficiency states. So you can easily read them. But for using our time, let's see only one of them. For example, vitamin D. So its function is it is needed for the absorption of calcium from the small intestine, because we need calcium for the calcification of the skeleton. The food sources, the ultraviolet light from the sun, the egg, butter, fish, fats, and cereals. The deficiency state may bring rickets, that is, and also the osteoporosis. So when we come to the vitamin absorption, so they are absorbed mainly in the jejunum and ileum section of the small intestine. So the small intestine has three sections: the jejunum, the ileum, and also the duodenum. So the vitamin A, D, E, and K are the fat-soluble vitamins, as we have said earlier, and they must be absorbed in combination with fat. Otherwise, we cannot utilize them properly. Fat is the transporter for which the vitamins are delivered to the liver. The B and the C vitamin are water-soluble, so they start breaking down in the stomach and throughout the small intestine. So they do not remain in the body tissue for long. So the excess will be excreted. So the last part is the minerals. So they are the inorganic elements of the periodic table found in food, and they are essential for life process. Unlike some vitamins, minerals can be made by the living organisms, so they must be supplied. So far we have identified 20 minerals, 20 essential minerals. So in 70 kilogram individual, mineral contribute to 2.8 kilogram of the weight of that individual. So here we have the classification of minerals, that is the macro minerals and micro minerals. The macro minerals, so these minerals are needed in our body in relatively larger amount than the micro minerals. Those are the calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, and so on. And the micro minerals, they are needed in lesser amount than the macro minerals, so they are termed as micro minerals. So iodine, copper, iron, selenium, manganese, molybdenum, and zinc are the micro minerals. So the function of minerals, they are involved in formation of bones and teeth. So calcium, phosphorus, manganese and iron are responsible for this. Fluorine are responsible for this. And also they are important for the metabolism of macronutrients, and therefore also regulation of blood sugar levels. And they are also components of enzyme systems. They are important for normal functioning of the nervous system, and they control the composition of body fluids, the extracellular and intracellular fluids, and also they are antioxidants. So here there is a function, source and food source of some minerals. For example, iron, it's important for the formation of hemoglobin, that is a carrier of oxygen, a very important mineral. So the food source are the meat and meat products, egg, bread, green leafy vegetables, and also fruits. So you can read them from the slide here. So when we come to the absorption, the intestinal absorption of minerals increase when the body is lacking that specific nutrient. So it will increase. Lacking a specific mineral increases the intestinal absorption of that particular mineral, and it decreases when the body is not lacking that particular mineral. So the absorption depends on the need of the body. So this is all about the macro and micronutrients. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you are studying the modules I'm providing you. So we will have test very soon, so get ready for it. Thank you very much.